Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Tank Observers podcast. My name is Jackson McCarty, as always joined alongside my co-host Chris Barr. And Chris, what are we doing today?
Defensive lineman.
Yes.
That's it.
The same spiel you've gotten for the past few episodes.
Yeah.
Actually, before we break it down and I give you the obligatory go check out the other videos, I want to explain the get up a little bit. Because as you mentioned, or as you've noticed, I'm sure, it's not the suit and tie. It's a bit more casual, and that is because the Washington football team is on a break, meaning I'm not losing hair this week. I'm not losing precious time off of my life from struggling as a fan. So I'm kicking back a little bit. I'm gonna let it breathe. I've got my beach clothes on. I'm ready to drive down the coast in a Corvette. Kind of vibes. So I felt it was a warranted treat that I would bring onto the show.
I dress casually too because the Vikings won, but
You dress casually anyways.
I'm already here.
Oh my God. Well, anyways, yeah, we are going on to the defensive line class this year, including edge rushers. If you don't know the format, if you're not sure what's about to happen, we've got 5 videos. This is probably something we should have done beforehand. 5 videos of the same format. If you haven't seen them, they're on the channel. They're even in a playlist for you. We're making it that easy. So go ahead and check that out. But anyways, let's just go ahead and hop into this.
Yeah, because we're good at our jobs.
We are very good at our jobs, even though sometimes it does not come across as such. Number 1, who stands out as the best defensive tackle in this class? Topher, start us off.
Well, it's not even a question for me. Name value alone. Jay Tufele.
Tufele.
At a USC, that guy can move. He is 300 pounds, and he gets after quarterbacks. Love to see it. He scares me a little bit. And not only does he move, he can't be moved.
No.
Big dog. Big nose tackle. He powers up centers. He just overpowers the interior. And those are supposed to be the big boys. Those 330 guards. Those corn-fed fellas. But nah. He shoves them out of the way. Takes down their quarterback. And along the way, takes a little bit of their pride too. Jay Tufele, you're my man.
Tufele is an absolutely great player and somebody that I even considered in my own personal role. But I kept finding myself coming back to one specific man. Somebody who's been on top of boards for literally since he was coming out of high school. He is that dominant of a presence at D-tackle. And while he is starting to be forgotten about a little bit just because of how weird of a season it is, he resides in the ACC. That's a bit of murky water. But make no mistake, Marvin Wilson is still the best tackle in this class. I'm not sure that anyone can power through 350-pound grown men like he can. I've seen Marvin Wilson act like it was me and you standing in front of him in double teams and just part the waters like Moses. He is just the level of strength he has, and obviously we mentioned it in the O-line video. You have to beat a strong individual to be on either side of the trenches. But what I've seen him do is ungodly. Like it feels like he could lift a Mack truck on a bad day. Like he is a very strong individual. Plus, once he gets his hands on you, it's the death grip. There's been quarterbacks that he's gotten them by the wristband or by the tail of their jersey, and they're going down like quick. And he's such an imposing figure. He's got polish. He's been such a highly touted athlete, showing off his potential. There's just so much to love about Marvin Wilson's tape for me, and for what he could bring to a team that I have no qualms giving him DT1 spot.
He's got nothing on Tufele.
Didn't just brushed off the behemoth strength that Marvin Wilson just said no.
It's all about Jay.
Hey, and maybe it will be on draft day. I could see Tufele going above Marvin, but I think Marvin is the better player.
I don't have a response.
Well, yeah, we'll have to wait for a few months. Maybe we'll put a prop bet on that one.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
But number 2, Greg Rousseau is a top 5 talent in this draft class, buying or selling. You.
I'm all in because I said Jay Tufele scares me.
Yes. You did say that.
Greg Rousseau haunts my nightmares. He throws around offensive tackles like they're Legos. He is just this raw physical talent, and I can get behind that. DK Metcalf was similar. Just raw physical talent. DK Metcalf is considered one of the top receivers in the league, and he doesn't even have a route tree. It's remarkable what physical gifts can get you, and for him, it gets him a top 5 standing in this draft. For me, at least. If he can develop a signature rush move, anything, maybe he'll figure out a way to consistently lift up offensive tackles like they're children and just move them out of the way.
Like an 80s movie villain.
Exactly. Just hey. And then he can go after the quarterback. If he can figure that out, I'm sure he can do it.
If he can become the Biff Tannen to offensive lineman Marty McFly's, sure.
Exactly. And I think he can. He tosses people. Like, I'm sure everyone's seen the video of Khalil Mack flipping Tristan Wirfs.
Yes.
He has that type of strength. He just needs to focus on getting after the quarterback, and he needs to get some sort of actual move, because at this point he just kind of like runs through the guy till he gets to the quarterback, which is fine, but you got to figure something out, man. But for me, that just raw physical strength, it's enough.
Now, I will acknowledge that Greg Rousseau is terrifying to watch.
Yes.
Because whenever you're an edge rusher, or really anybody on the D-line, you're looking against the offensive lineman, and it's almost like a rock, paper, scissors game but there's only two. It's power moves, finesse moves.
Yes.
One, if the O-lineman goes for a power move and you go for a finesse, he's going to be able to stuff you. If he brings finesse to your power and tries to delay that, he will at least be able to delay it. In the ACC, they have much harder difficulties matching power with Rousseau. But in the NFL, he will be able to be matched for power, and whenever they do finesse moves to counter his power moves, I think he'll be rendered fairly ineffective because I don't see a whole lot of finesse with his game. There's no swim moves. There's no jab steps. There's just, I'm going to run through you. And it's a very effective thing to do, especially with guys like Quincy Roche and Jalen Phillips across the line from you. But it's not enough for me. I don't think he's a top 5 player in this class. I think watching Quincy Roche this year and what he's been able to do at Miami has been almost more impressive because I can see what Roche is capable of. I can see that he has the ability to finesse move. I can see the ability to power through some guys. I don't see that with Rousseau. There's too much lack of polish. And that lack of polish, it could always turn into a what if.
See, I get your point. I'll be honest, I'm not impressed with his technique.
Fair.
I'm not impressed. But I'm not impressed. He doesn't have any technique. But at this point in his career, he doesn't really need it at all because he's throwing people around like they're high schoolers. He is bullying offensive linemen into submission and taking the quarterback's lunch money. And if he can do that in the NFL, then so be it. Maybe he'll actually get some coaching because I have a feeling that his coaches are just like, hey, man, just don't beat me up.
Yeah, just do your thing, man.
Yeah.
Just go hang out.
You're good. You got it. And that's it. So maybe when he gets some coaching for technique, he'll get it.
Hopefully so. And I don't want him to be a bad player. I think that's a prerequisite for all of these episodes. The guys that we don't show enough appreciation to are the guys that, while we want them to be good, but we don't see it yet. Rousseau is one of those people that, the way I look at it right now, it's a bit of the same issues that Sean Oakman was having in his build up to his draft. Because obviously Oakman was a very powerful defensive end, and he was a first round pick, and then he had a bad season and he started to slide a bit. And then obviously the very unfortunate things that followed after that don't really pertain to what I'm comping Rousseau to here. It's just there's a certain makeup to those guys that had Rousseau played this year, I think he would have suffered a very similar fate in the sense of sliding, because we did see Oakman start to fall out of first round in mock drafts because there wasn't enough development. So I think this sitting a year for him was the best possible outcome for him, and we'll see how it works out come draft day and beyond. Next up, we have what is becoming the obligatory compare these two teammates, because it feels like in literally every class we've had or every position we've had, there's at least one team with two very good players in that same skill group.
You're not wrong.
So today we are presenting Michigan's very own Kwity Paye versus Aiden Hutchinson. I'm going to go ahead and kick this one off. I am a huge buy on Aiden Hutchinson because watching him play Tristan Wirfs last year was perhaps the most impressive I'd seen any edge rusher against Tristan Wirfs. Like, there were quite a few plays where it was like, he just beat a player that I personally think is the top tackle in this class. Like, with somewhat ease. And it terrified me because you don't see players doing that to Tristan Wirfs. I mean, of course you do in the NFL now because it's a higher competition level.
Khalil Mack.
Exactly, like you referenced earlier. But you didn't see that in college. You did not see Iowa Tristan Wirfs getting bullied. Plus, versatility is such an important thing in the NFL. I think Aiden Hutchinson could play defensive end, that new edge rusher type situation, or even sometimes a 4-3 D end or D tackle. Excuse me. He's got enough ability to play so many different techniques that he is immediately more valuable to me because there are multiple different roles that he can be utilized in. But outside of that, super high motor. We know that that's something that I feel like I mention in every episode because that is one of my prime characteristics that I like to have in a player. He's strong, he's fast, he's got a lot of that versatility that I like. And whenever I watch his tape, he's got a really good reaction time. The quarterback or the running back would be hitting a hole and trying to bounce out, and instead of covering in there, he wrapped around so quick to shut it off at their second guess that I was just thoroughly impressed with that as a whole.
I don't blame you for liking Aiden Hutchinson. I personally love Aiden Hutchinson too.
Yeah.
Not as much as Kwity though.
Fair.
Because name value goes a long way with me.
Mm-hmm.
And Kwity Paye is spectacular. But he's also a very good player. He just kills slow offensive tackles. Yeah. He embarrasses them because he takes that first step off the line, and all he has to do is one step to the outside and then go inside. And if the guard isn't there to help, it's a sack. Yeah. It's amazing. He is a very smart player, especially on the outside. But he can play inside and outside. And against guards, as long as he's not double teamed, because that would kill him since he's a defensive end. Yeah. He's an edge. He's not a tackle. But against guards, all he has to do is get low, and he's gone because they can't get as low as him. He's just a better athlete. And his first step, just to get around some tackles, is so fast they can't react with him.
Yeah, he is a tremendous athlete.
Kwity Paye is a ridiculous athlete that can easily be fine-tuned into a killer defensive end. We've seen people draft these killer athletes that have the ability to be fine-tuned into ridiculous DNs. Doesn't always work out. Kwity Paye, I'm not expecting to fall down that same track because he already has a lot of really good technique.
In a lot of ways, you can compare this to something we talked about when we were writing the show not too long ago. Chase Winovich and Rashawn Gary when they came out together. And I do think Kwity Paye is a better version of Rashawn Gary. And I think Aiden Hutchinson is a better version of Chase Winovich. Like, these guys feel like they watched Gary and Winnie develop and play, and they memorized how they did it, and they said, here's what I would have done to make it even better. So Michigan, for all their flaws, have a pair of phenomenal edge rushers coming out this year.
Absolutely.
Now, we're breaking it down again. You saw this a similar fashion with the line class last time because we compared the interior to the outside. Now we're doing it again. Edge rushers versus IDLs. Topher,
Indeed.
take it away.
I'm all about the edge. I know I talked a big game for Jay Tufele, but I feel like I did the same thing for the gentleman we were comparing to, Sean Oakman.
Oh,
Rousseau, yes. Why did I forget that? I was literally just talking about him. But Florida is pumping out 2 first-round talents at the defensive end position with Rousseau and
Quincy Roche.
I'm not doing well right now. And we're seeing the same thing with Michigan. 2 first-round talents with Aiden Hutchinson and Kwity Paye.
Yep.
It's ridiculous. That's 4 right there that are graded at the very least. Graded. I don't know how big the need's going to be this year. We don't know. We can't predict the NFL draft to a T, but there's at least 4 defensive ends from only 2 schools that could be projected into the first round. And beyond those duos, there's at least 5 other names that could be gone by the second day, by the end of the second day. And those other 5 names, they're headlined by Carlos Basham and Pat Jones.
Yes.
So this defensive end class runs so deep. It's ridiculous. There are just too many of them. Maybe that'll get weeded out a little bit. Come close to the draft day. We still have a ways to go. But as of now, this is ridiculous. Because I said there's 5 more names. It's crazy. There's almost 10 people that you could say, hey, that's easy day 2. That's easy. They're all gone by day 2.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent at the top of the edge rushing class, but obviously I have a bit of issue with Rousseau being that high. I'm not great on somebody that you mentioned, or you did mention in the edge class, Hamilcar Rashed Jr. He gets a lot of hype that I'm not too fond of personally, but any variation of these names could and realistically should go in the first round. You've got Jay Tufele, Jalen Twyman, Marvin Wilson, Christian Barmore, Jordan Davis. There's so many D tackles that have a claim to fame of being up front and making a first round. What was that, 4 or 5 that I just listed? Plus, then you're looking at guys who have a niche role, which you're really allowed to have as a D tackle. You're not allowed to have that as much as edge. You're not allowed to just be a run guy or just a pass guy. In D tackle, you are. And you've got guys like Mustafa Johnson and, excuse me if I butcher this name, Kyrie's Tonga. I've watched plenty of tape, never really heard the name pronounced. They both have very carved out niche roles that would benefit a team tremendously whenever they are lacking in that spot. And even guys like LeBron Ray and Lorenzo Neal, they have such high potential that even if they're going in the 5th, 6th round, you could see them be like a Tim Settle for my Washington football team. They're not a starter, but when they rotate in, they make an impact. And I do think that both of these classes are so very talented, but I give it to the D tackle class just a little bit more, maybe not even because of talent, but because they at least have their priorities in order. I don't think Rousseau's the guy. I do think that multiple of those D tackles that I mentioned earlier, specifically Tufele and Marvin Wilson, could be the guy. And they're at the top, rightfully so. So, yeah.
I disagree. But I have to. It's kind of my job. So.
Yes.
Mr. Hamilcar Rashed Jr. I am so not impressed, and that's why I didn't mention you when I brought up those 5 names.
Yes.
You are a defensive edge. You have very few elite skills. You are not elite quick. You're not super fast off the line. Your first step is not elite. Your ability to track down rushers, all right, that's pretty good. But that's really all I can really give you, because what you really do is you capitalize on mistakes that your teammates make the quarterback make, and that's where most of your sacks come from. I watched your tape. Your highlights could be your teammates' highlights too, because what they're doing is running the quarterback into you. because they push their tackle over. He starts running to your side. You just break off your tackle, and that's it. Then you get the sack. You're just getting off of your tackle when the quarterback's already running by you. Your pursuit game is great because you're a good run stuffer.
Yes.
So you should put on like 40 pounds and just become a D tackle because then you'd probably be like a first round pick.
What would the equivalent to an edge rusher disguised as an interior lineman for EFS?
For EFS?
Yes. Well, we need to come up with some form of edge to interior.
Mo Wilkerson?
Yeah.
Or I mean, I know he's just a rotation edge for the Vikings, but Stephen Weatherly runs D tackle sometimes.
Stephen Weatherly is a D tackle. Why is he running edge? Stephen Weatherly syndrome. We have Eric Flowers syndrome and Stephen Weatherly syndrome.
Stephen Weatherly, SWF or SWS.
There you go. And EFS. We're just gonna have a syndrome for soon enough. It'll be Terrell Pryor syndrome when you're a quarterback, but you should be a receiver. Like,
is that even a thing?
Yeah, Edelman did it.
Oh my God, Edelman.
Pryor. Yeah, I guess it would need to be Julian Edelman syndrome. JES.
JES.
Either way, this is not about syndromes. This is about Hamilcar Rashed Jr. being a beneficiary of situations. He is the product of his teammates' surroundings.
So not impressed.
Yeah, and there it is. You've gotten your So Not Impressed segment. We've ran through a little bit of this, and next up, we've got the linemen, and we're on the back nine. We've got linebackers, and then we've got secondary, and we've wrapped up the buy or sell. So yeah.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, that's the end of the show for today. As always, if you enjoyed, be sure to like and comment and subscribe. Go check out the rest of these if you haven't already. And as always, my name's Jackson McCarty.
And I like wearing heels to bed.
We'll see you guys next time.
But is he the best player in this draft on his own? Without a doubt. Please show